Yep. Here.
And stop.
Okay. Oh, Scott. I have computer audio. Hey there. I'm gonna.
Okay, I should be the one. And stop video, invite, share screen. Okay. Great. Let me know if you two can see the deck. Hi, everyone. We're going to wait. Hi. We're going to wait just a minute to let people join, and then we'll get started. Welcome to Kate, Allison, I think Scott, Michael, Elizabeth, hello. While you're waiting in the chat, you can write your name, where you teach, the subjects you teach, and if you're tuning in with more than one person, you can also let us know. I love that everyone has their videos. So cool.
I think encourage books too, yeah.
Yeah. Great. Can you see this on my screen, the chat box? You can? Okay. Great. So we have some Spanish teachers. Awesome. Special education teachers, middle school counselor, amazing.
Kentucky.
From Kentucky. Awesome. Okay. We'll wait just a few more seconds to get started and see if anyone else is here to join us.
I'll just check to see if anyone emailed.
We have one more. Hello, welcome. Scott. Oh, great. Chicago. Awesome. Welcome, Scott. Thanks for joining. Oh, awesome. 3rd through 5th and K through 3rd. Awesome. Okay. Shall we get started? Okay, amazing. We're going to get started. We might have some additional people join us, but thanks for sharing. For the people that are in the virtual room with us, thank you so much for joining us today. My name is Jillian. We'll have time to introduce my wonderful colleagues who are here with me today, but we're going to be talking about WeSchools and service learning, and so we're excited that you joined us for the session. Here's our agenda for the day. We'll be talking about the We movement, an introduction to the WeSchools program, tips on getting started and choosing your local and global actions, and then next steps to get doing and get your year started. And so many of you might be new to WeSchools, you might be inheriting a WeSchools group, that's all great. This session is really meant to provide you the context with how to get started and feel like you have clarity on using WeSchools this year. And so we'll get started. Before we talk about WeSchools, I want to introduce my lovely friends and colleagues who are here. My name is Jillian. I'm our manager of virtual programming, so I meet with groups online in this setting. And I also, you might see my name in an email. I also share resources with groups to make sure that all of you are equipped with tools and resources to do service learning. I've been with We for 2 years, and fun fact, I love dogs. I have a dog whose name is Harry Pupper. So that's a little bit about me. I'm going to introduce my friend Michael. You can see his video also in the chat, and so I'll let him introduce himself. And Michael, you can just, I'll toggle you over. Yeah, but that way they can see him here.
Oh, gotcha.
Hello, everyone. My name is Michael. I am a program manager for We Schools. This is starting my 3rd year now with the We Schools program. Very exciting. And fun fact about me, I have traveled to 5 countries in 1 calendar year. So starting September of last year, I went to Spain, United Kingdom, and France. December, I went to Kenya. Went to Kenya again in June, and then just came back from Italy in August. So yeah, fun fact about me. Excited to have you all here. Thank you.
Wow.
Yeah.
And the video's on for me.
Oh,
You're
okay.
seeing me twice, 2 angles.
Okay.
Hi, I'm Elizabeth. I'm the Associate Director of Professional Learning. I do district trainings in the Chicago and surrounding Illinois area, and I've done some sessions with Laura in Kentucky, so I might know you folks as well. This is starting my 4th year with the organization. Fun fact about me is I teach yoga on the weekends, so really passionate about our We Wellbeing resources that you'll find out a little bit later. So thanks for being here.
Great, thanks for sharing. And then before I talk about We Schools, I want us all to take a step back and talk about the We movement and what is We. And so We really stems from this idea that kids are capable. And we started with a 12-year-old boy in Canada named Craig Kielberger. And Craig was reading the newspaper, looking at cartoons at breakfast one morning when he came across a story about another 12-year-old boy across the world named Iqbal Masih. And he read this story and was shocked because what it said was that Iqbal, at the age of 4, was sold into child slavery. And he worked for several years as a child laborer. At the age of 12, he was able to escape. And he traveled the world to speak out and use his voice against child slavery. And when he was a child laborer, he was working for a carpet factory. As you can imagine, they weren't very pleased when they heard him speaking out against the carpet factories in Pakistan. So when he returned home, he was tragically murdered for speaking out. So when Craig read this story, he couldn't believe what he saw. He said, "This is another 12-year-old boy. He's my age, and he tried to speak up and use his voice in a powerful way and lead. This shouldn't have happened to him." And he was really inspired to share that story with his class. And so he asked his mom if he could bring the article to school, and his mom said yes. And he asked his teacher if he could share the story with his class. And his teacher said yes. And because these adults opened up space for him to share what he was passionate about, a lot of his classmates were interested in joining his cause. So 11 other young people raised their hands, and together they became known as the 12-year-olds who fought against child slavery and child exploitation. So it started as this really grassroots movement of young people wanting to make a difference and just figuring out how they could make a difference, has slowly evolved into this movement, an international movement of young people and their families who care about making a difference and care about shifting the world from thinking about what's in it for me to how can I impact the collective we, and how can we come together to impact the world in a powerful way. So that's a little bit about the history of we and how we came to exist. And as Craig started to get older, he wanted to be able to create a kit that he could put in the hands of any young person to give them the tools and resources that they would need to make a change in their local and global communities. The idea for the kit has sort of transformed and spawned into the We Schools program, which is a free service learning program that empowers young people to become active global citizens and make change in communities by discovering the causes that they care about and making a difference in their local and global world. The program has been delivering really impressive results in increasing academic engagement, improving university and workplace readiness, and also getting students to commit to lives of active citizenship. So it's a really powerful program. And all of this work throughout the year is done through what we call action campaigns. And that work is celebrated at the end of the year, oftentimes at We Day events. And so many of you might have heard of We Day before. In the chat, you can give us a thumbs up if you've heard about We Day or you've been to We Day. They're really powerful events and where we welcome around 15,000 young people into stadium-sized events with actors, celebrities, musicians, humanitarian speakers, and youth to share all of the impact that they've created. It's a really inspirational environment. If you haven't seen it, you can stream it, I think, on Hulu and on Amazon Prime. But you sort of see what the event is about. It's incredible. We've had speakers like Malala. We recently had Prince Harry and Meghan Markle. We've had Common, Alicia Keys, just many, many people who get up and speak about why it's important to make a difference. So these events happen in select cities throughout the US, the UK, and Canada. But I know that many of us don't have We Day events, and so I want to call out some other opportunities. One of them is We Day X. We Day X is sort of like a mini We Day where you can bring the power of We Day to your school through planning sort of like an assembly or a pep rally. And so what this picture shows here is a group of students in Jennings, Missouri, who planned a We Day X, and they invited local politicians and local celebrities in the Missouri area, along with the youth, to celebrate the difference that they were able to make throughout the year. So you can also bring an event like that to your school to celebrate the impact you're making. And I also want to call out We Day Connect events. We Day Connect will be happening in the fall, very soon on October 8th. We'll share the information in our follow-up email. But We Day Connect is a way to bring We Day into your classroom. So it's a virtual event. You can log on from wherever you are.
Your grades do count.
Thanks, Allison.
And so we invite you to join us for We Day Connect. We'll have the same caliber of speakers as our normal We Day events. We hope that you can make it on October 8th as well. So those are all ways to celebrate the impact your students make. And as you might know, students can't buy their tickets to We Day, they earn them through service. And so we like that spirit of saying, how can we earn this event? Through making a difference. And so I want to talk a little bit about the We Schools commitment. When you sign up for We Schools, you are agreeing, or you're committing to completing at least one local action, one global action, and reporting. So that's 1 or 2 surveys a year, and then just telling us about your projects as you complete them throughout the year. Notably, we really want this to be doable for you. One local action, one global action, and it can be anything that you want. And why do we choose 2 actions? Studies actually show that the benefits of service learning are gained after you complete 2 service learning projects. So these benefits, like increased empathy, civic engagement, those types of things, are gained after students complete 2 service learning events or projects. And so that's integrated into the program each year. And also notably, we really want to make this doable for you. So not only do we have the resources available to support you in choosing and taking action locally and globally, but we also have a team of program managers that are here to support you in making that possible as well. So we really want it to be doable for you to choose one local and one global action. And we'll talk more about how that looks. I want to pause here and ask you what you already do for service in your school or group. Many of you are already doing service, which is amazing. You can type in the chat, what do you already do for service in your school or in your group?
Okay.
All right, we have one from Christina. She says, we choose a charity as a campus each January and do small fundraisers throughout the spring to send them a large donation at the end of the semester.
Awesome. Great. Awesome. Oh,
All right, Scott says, Bon and I are new teachers this year, but we are looking forward to connecting with CBOs in the North Lawndale community of Chicago. Wonderful. We have Kate, who they partner with students in the lower grades for service projects such as cleaning the surrounding neighborhood, one and done projects such as a soup kitchen lunch, food drive, sorting food at a local food bank, and water step shoe collection. And then Christina also chimed in, our students participate in Hoops for Heart, and we send a donation to the American Heart Association each spring as well. That is a very good one. I have heard of that.
cool. Thanks so much for sharing. Very cool projects. And this leads me to sort of recognize that many of you are already doing this work. The way that We Schools is different is that we integrate learning really intentionally into all of those services. So Elizabeth is going to talk a little bit about how that works.
Great. So a lot of the kind of backbone of all of our resources surrounded around this service learning theory of how to make service student-led and sustainable. So you start with the way we've defined it is starting with investigating learning. So what are they learning about their community? What are they learning about themselves, the issues, and how do they strategically action plan to connect their strengths with community needs? We'll talk about the different types of actions they can take, but serving doesn't have to look one way, and that there's an element of reflection afterwards where they report their impact, celebrate, and that naturally leads to what's next, and the students start to guide these steps themselves. There's a quote we often say, serving without reflecting is like eating without digesting. So what often educators will sometimes do is they'll take those traditional one and done projects and do them for the investigate and learn stage and have a reflection session to see what issues came up when we did this action together, and how do we want to have more of a student-led hand in figuring out a solution that might be lead to deeper impact. And then the way kind of on-ramps to service, the way our resources are designed is to help. Once you do issues investigation, kids can kind of, they see how everything's connected and they don't know where to start. These are mini thematic units that you can opt into. It's not a required must do. It's really kind of an on-ramp for service. So we have service learning campaigns, all tied to a different theme. My personal favorite is We Film for Change, that's tied to art as activism. That's really great for English classrooms. All those, We Scare Hunger is a really popular one for this time of year, linked with hunger and food scarcity, and they often do a canned food drive as a first step, and then thinking about why do food deserts exist? What are resources we can further investigate, and what's our role in either raising awareness about the issue or changing behavior. And you can read on. The newest one this year is We Are Innovators. That's tied to social entrepreneurship, which is really cool. And then our global fundraising initiatives, We Are Silent, We Walk for Water, We Are Rafikis in Kentucky. I think you had your first Walk for Water this past summer, right before school is out. We Are Silent, our feature for this month, and that's about raising your voice. I think we're seeing a lot of youth on the news right now using their voice to create change. So that's one of our favorites for the fall.
Awesome. Thanks, Elizabeth. I want to talk a little bit about how this can look like in action. So it's a little bit of a case study. We're going to take a common service action, what one person said, a one and done action, which is a food drive, and talk about how one group in Illinois used that as their launching off point for deeper learning and deeper service. So they had a food drive, but they really wanted to dig into the issue of local hunger and food scarcity. So they used the We Scare Hunger campaign, which comes with 4 lesson plans that dive really deep into food insecurity. And they also invited a representative from their local food bank to come talk to the students. And they learned 2 things. They learned that there were a lot of donations around Thanksgiving, but a lot of the donations dried up around May and June. And they also learned that one of the most requested items was peanut butter. And so in their action plan, they decided to hold a May event collecting specifically peanut butter, which I thought was really interesting. To do action, they did a dodgeball tournament and they had each team donate at least 10 jars of peanut butter to participate in the dodgeball tournament. And everyone who watched could also donate $3 or donate a jar of peanut butter. And they were able to collect over 100 jars of peanut butter for their local food bank. This is just one example of how a food drive, that simple one and done idea, you can really deepen it and make it more intentional with partnering with your local food banks or local community-based organizations and really learn about their needs and respond to their needs in partnership in a more intentional way. There are so many ways you can go about this. This is just one example. I am going to skip this question because we're running short on time, but just wanted to share that example as a way to maybe inspire taking those one and done projects and deepening the learning.
And this is a resource within the physical and digital WeSchools kit resource, but it's one of our favorite pages to reference because they're spreading out the idea that there's more than one way to serve. We tend to think of volunteering and fundraising when we hear service, but using our language skills to raise awareness via a song, an article, an essay, a video clip, a YouTube channel, is also really valuable and an act of service. Material collection is that example of a food or a clothing drive. Shifting behavior, if kids are understanding what is actually the root cause behind something, is for example, a park cleanup. Is it because there's not a garbage can, a material item there, and we need to contact local authorities to advocate for those resources? Or is it a behavior shift that we need to make? How can we shift the mindset of the community that it's important to recycle or pick up trash? That type of action and connecting strengths will be different. People often do a random acts of kindness week and talking about how you can shift culture for behavior change as well. That's a really accessible launching pad if this is your first time doing service. It's pretty powerful. And then advocacy is another one. So looking into for older students, or if you're linked with social studies, that's a cool one to see what policies are in place in order to shape behavior. So here in Chicago, we have a 7-cent tax on plastic bags, and that's the intent, so people change their behavior and don't use plastic bags. In Costa Rica, their policy in 2021 is to make single-use plastic bags illegal, and they're putting all these funding support for university students to find alternatives, and they've found that banana peels can be made into plastics that are more biodegradable. So that's a cool investigation of what are different countries, what are different companies, what are different organizations doing to invest in the community.
Yeah. This is one of my favorite slides because it really does show that if we can think of service in more than one way, in these multiple ways, you can be so much more innovative with the type of service that you do. So it's just, one of my favorite realizations.
Yeah. And this is a good strategy for if kids you've done issues exploration, you figure out what they care about, to do brainstorming of what would it look like to volunteer, raise awareness without the immediate expectation that they're going to act, is a really cool activity just to expand their idea of what service is, and it can lead to some creative ideas. So a cool brainstorming opportunity.
Awesome. Yeah. And so Elizabeth talked a lot about our different campaigns, how we approach service learning with the 4 steps, and sort of the different ways that service can look like. But in addition to the campaigns and really the meat of our programming, there are a lot of other benefits that you get for being part of the WeSchools campaign. And I just want to shout out 3 main ones, but I'll let you read all of these different tiles. The ones that I'll shout out are grants and awards. We have grants throughout the entire year available for educators and students to apply for. One that's coming up is the Hershey's Heartwarming Grant, and it's for any project that promotes inclusion, empathy, kindness in the classroom, all of those things, you can get a $250 grant. It's due by October 31st, and we highly recommend that you apply. Oftentimes educators think, I don't want to apply because so many people will apply. I'm like 1 in a million, but with our grants, typically they're first come, first serve. And as long as your project qualifies and meets the qualifying criteria, you have a good chance at being awarded the grant. So we highly recommend applying. That one's a really good one. I also want to shout out the We Day event I talked about. We Day Connect will be on October 8th. It's a great way to get inspired and have your students be inspired for the year ahead in action. We recommend that you sign up for that. And then We Global Classroom events. These are new for us at We. We're having a series of virtual events that feature really amazing speakers. And they're all about different topics, different social justice topics. So last month we had one on LGBTQ plus rights and inclusion. This month we'll be having one, or on October 18th, we'll be having one on We Are Silent and the International Rights of the Child. So we recommend that you sign up for that. We'll have links to all of these things in our follow-up email, but that's just some of the things that we offer. I invite you to put a smiley face in the chat if you've ever used any of these resources. It could be the ones that I've mentioned. Maybe you participated in a virtual or in-person speaking tour. Maybe you've been able to come to a professional learning session with us. Maybe you've interacted with one of our amazing program managers that can provide you support throughout the entire year. Feel free to put a smiley in the chat if you have interacted in any of those ways with us before. Oh, I like that question. Or if this is your first time, which resource is most of interest to you? Oh, great. We have one person who received a grant last year for an Earth Day project. Was it the We Volunteer Now grant by any chance? Awesome. Yeah, the We Volunteer Now grants are also $250. Highly recommend those grants to remove barriers to volunteering. That's great. We Global Classroom events are of most interest to us. Thank you, Scott. We hope you can join us on October 18th. They really are pretty amazing events. In-person speaking tour was really good too. Oh, great. You were able to use a bunch of things last year. That's perfect. Yeah, we'll have this year in-person and virtual speaking tour. So even if we don't have a speaker who will be in your immediate city, we're hoping that we'll be able to offer speaking tours more widely to groups all around the country, no matter where you are. So yeah, stay tuned for those resources, and we'll have some links in the follow-up for you to sign up for those. Great. So now let's talk about getting started. You're already ready to get doing, but now what? We're going to talk about next steps, and I'll talk about 3 main things. The first is registering and getting your WE code. So if you are already registered, you should have a WE code. And if you have your WE code and you know what it is, I invite you to give us a thumbs up in the chat. If you don't have your WE code, or if you don't know if you're registered, I invite you to type your name and your email in the chat so that we can send it to you. Or you can just send us an email to say you don't have it. Your WE code is your unique identifier, and so whenever you sign up for a campaign, or you sign up to be a part of a global classroom event, or to fill out an impact survey to tell us about your projects, you'll need your WE code. So just let us know in the chat if you need it or if you have it. Oh yeah, you can also put a smiley instead of a thumbs up. Oh yeah. And Christina, we can, if you need help finding your WE code, we can also send it to you after today. Yes, you do have one WE code forever, the same WE code. So we can, Kate, we can get you your school's current WE code. Just let us know your school's name and we'll send it to you. We also should have it in your registration as well. Yeah, we'll make sure to send out WE codes to groups if you're not sure. We're taking note of who needs them as you tell us in the chat, so we'll make sure to follow up with anyone who says they definitely need their WE code. We're making a note of who needs it.
that's going to be important if you do attend a WE Day or sharing what actions, campaigns you and your students do decide to do. That's how you let us know that you are thinking about or have completed an action. So it's one to write on your WE binder real big because you'll need it a couple times, but we'll send it to you.
Awesome. And so we'll get WE code squared away. That's our first step. The second step is meetings, when and where. And so I'll talk a little bit about how meetings can happen and how you can implement the WE Schools program. How you choose to implement WE Schools is completely up to you. We all start with the WE Schools commitment, which is one local action, one global action in reporting, but how it looks can be really different depending on where you are and what you do. So if you are a group like Miss May's group, you might want to implement WE Schools after school. She does it once a week for an hour approximately, and she gets about one campaign approximately every 2 months. So that's how she implements WE Schools. But if you're like Mr. Brown, he's an elementary school teacher. He chooses to implement WE Schools in WE Schools Wednesdays. So every Wednesday, they take about half an hour to work through a social issue that they're interested in. And so they might choose for the entire fall to look at something like hunger. And every Wednesday, they'll dedicate half an hour to exploring hunger. Throughout the course of the whole year, they might get through 3 different campaigns. A teacher like Mrs. K integrates WE Schools in her student council. So that's an existing group already in the school, something like a Key Club or a student council. They integrate it into student council by tacking on a WE Schools campaign, one in the fall and one in the spring. So that might look like in the fall, everyone does We Scare Hunger, a local campaign, and they all rally as a school to complete that. And in the spring, they might choose a global campaign like We Walk for Water. And so they might do a water walk to raise money for access to clean water throughout the world as a school. So you can integrate it into an existing club like Mrs. K. Or like Mr. Jin, you can integrate it into a curricular setting. He's a history teacher in a high school, and the way that he integrates WE Schools is through what he calls a So What week. And so at the end of each quarter, what is usually the testing period, he really takes the time to have students connect what they learned with how it matters, or so what, why does this matter? So they're connecting the issues and the themes that they learned about in history that quarter with social issues that are happening at the time during that testing week. So each quarter, they do a different campaign that's connected to a social issue. And so they do 4 campaigns a year. That's just 4 examples of how groups can integrate service learning. We're happy to talk through more of them. If you want to do it as a whole school, we also have a district called Cicero. I'll shout them out. And their whole school district chose the theme of kindness. And so each school chose to express kindness in a different way: kindness to veterans, to animals, kindness to strangers, kindness to each other, anti-bullying. And so each school in the district chose to express that theme in a different way, all through WE Schools. So it's really flexible. I want to pause and ask you a question, which is, where do you see this being implemented at your school? Do you see it being living in after school? Do you see it in your advisory period? Do you see it in a particular class you teach? Tell us in the chats. Oh, great. So we have Kate has a service learning club, 30 middle school members who meet with her 1.5 hours a week. Amazing. After school, Scott says, since we are we're out of school time teachers at our youth center. Great, we have a lot of out of school time teachers who implement WE Schools. Is it Christine? Christina. Thank you, Christina. See it with student council or possibly another club that is building positive campus culture. Amazing. That's great. We have a lot of Key Club, student council groups. that implement WeSchools. So all of those are great ways to implement. And if you need help discovering or figuring out how to implement, just reach out to any of our program managers. We're more than happy to help you think through how you could implement it. It is flexible and everyone makes it work in their own way. So we're happy to talk through it with you. Great. Now we're going to talk about how to choose your local and global campaigns. I do want to talk about oftentimes the easiest way to start is just what your students are passionate about. So ask them, what are you interested in? What causes do you care about? But if you need help discovering it, because sometimes students don't know what they're passionate about, we have some tools to help you. I invite you to read our Beginner's Guide to WeSchools. I'm going to send that out after our time today, but it's a 4-page PDF document that goes through how to discover the causes you care about. And there's a template on the last page that we invite you to complete that leads you through just choosing your local and global campaign. So we invite you to do that. We also have some lesson plans that can help you explore different social issues your students care about. The ones I'll call out are our community mapping lesson plan, which is all about looking at and mapping the needs in your local community. The Issues Compass lesson plan, which is all about global issues, and then action planning, which is around any issue. So we'll send those to you. You also have monthly newsletters that have ideas every month. And if you need more ideas, you could talk to a program manager. But once you figure out your local and global campaigns, I'm actually going to minimize this and show you how to sign up for a campaign. Can you all see my We Scare Hunger page? Amazing. So I am on the We Scare Hunger page, and so let's say if I decided with my students that we wanted to do We Scare Hunger, I would find it on the landing page on our website. So I've already navigated to our We Scare Hunger page on our website. Is it there? Okay.
Yeah, that's your PowerPoint.
Okay. Here we go. Let me know if you can see it.
There we go.
Awesome. So once I'm at We Scare Hunger, I would just scroll down and you can see this button that says sign up now. I would click that and you can see it leads you right to the page to sign up for the campaign. So anytime you want to do a campaign, make sure to sign up for it. You would say I'm signing up with my school or group, and this is where you would insert your We code. Okay? So that's how you do that. And then when you're ready to complete an impact report, you would go to the same campaign page and you would scroll down past the sign up button, past the campaign resources to this section here where we have exploring issues, resources for educators, and last but not least, this button here, campaign impact survey. You would click that and you would fill out the impact survey. So whenever you do a campaign at the beginning, you should sign up for it, and at the end, you should complete the impact survey. And if you ever have trouble finding them, just let any of your program managers know, and we're happy to assist you. So that is how to sign up for a campaign. So we've talked through getting your We code, when and where to have meetings. We've talked about how to sign up for your local and global campaigns. Last but not least, I want to shout out the resource of the Beginner's Guide that I mentioned. I really hope that you can check it out. It's an incredible resource just to get a bearing on planning out your school year. And then also mentioning our program managers, again, we're really here. One of the best features of our program is that we can provide you one-on-one support. We provide educator support with planning, lesson planning, fundraising planning, whatever you need. Finding the perfect resource, we're here for you. So we invite you to reach out to us. With that, we've reached the end. So I want to say thank you for joining us. Kate, thanks for also sharing your video. It's been nice to see faces who are watching from wherever you are in the world, which is just really nice to have this connection. So thank you for joining us, for learning about WeSchools. We hope that you feel more prepared to start using WeSchools and that you know who you can reach out to. Please feel free to reach out to any of us. We're here to support you. And if you have feedback on what was cool, what you want more of, feel free to share it in the chat. Otherwise, yeah, just thank you so much for joining us today.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Does anyone have specific questions? I don't know if we've been logged off yet.
Yeah, Kate just made a comment. She says, I'm feeling less overwhelmed about taking on this service learning role because I see things don't have to be huge undertakings. Very, very true. One of the best benefits of this program is that it's a choose your own adventure. So do as much as you want or as little as you can. Whatever works best for you and your students, that's what we're here for.
Yeah. And our meeting might kick us out.
They might, I'm trying to extend it, we might be kicked out.
So if the video stops, we are going to send out this recording to you all after here. So if you want to check it out again or send it to someone, feel free. But we're about to end the meeting. We have a limit of 45 minutes, so just thank you.